Now we're going to move on to making darts. And because patterns and fabric are flat and bodies are not, we need to build in the curves to fabric. And one common way to do that is to make darts. And darts point to the fullest part. They can be horizontal, they can be vertical, they can be single pointed, or they could be double pointed. And we're going to talk about how to mark them. In your notes today, I gave you the dart basics. There are 2 sheets to this paper that talk all about the different types of darts and how to prepare them. This is the pattern for your darts. Then you have a sheet of directions and the evaluation sheet. So, to get ready for making your darts, what you want to do is cut out your 2 patterns, get rid of all the excess paper, and then you want to cut 2 pieces of muslin 3.5 by 8. The first dart that we're going to mark is the single pointed dart, very typical, and we're going to put the edge of the dart right along the edge of the paper, like so, and we're going to use tracing wheel and tracing paper. So I'm going to put the tracing paper over the muslin, put the pattern on top, and I'm going to use a ruler because these are just straight lines, and I'm going to go right along the ruler. And then before I take it all apart, I'm just going to peek and see, and I did get my mark on there, so that is all set to pin. And then I'll mark the double pointed dart. I'll put that right in the middle of the fabric, and I'm going to put my tracing paper down, and I will mark the top part of the triangle and then the bottom part of the triangle. You want to mark right along the solid black line. And we'll just take a peek, and our lines are there. And then we're going to get these ready for sewing. So we're going to pin, and when you have a single point, you're going to find the point. I'm going to put a pin right in the point, and then I'm going to match the 2 legs of the dart and put a pin in, and then see if it matched. It's a little bit off, so we'll adjust it. And when the pin comes through, it's on the other marking line. So we'll pin it like that. And then I'm going to put one right in the middle just to hold it so it doesn't slip off. And that's right on the line. So I've used 3 pins. They're horizontal, or perpendicular rather, to the line. So the first dart is marked, and then for the double pointed dart, what you want to do is fold it in half, and you want to pin that center point first. So I'm going to put a pin in and see if I got it on the other side, and then I want to find the end point and put a pin in like so, and the other end point, put a pin in. And it's a good idea on this one too to put pins in the middle to make sure that they still match and they don't slip out of place on you. And put a pin in there. And then this one is pinned and ready to sew. So both of those are ready to sew. And now what we want to do is take a look at our vest pattern and mark that. Now, when we're cutting out, remember I told you you don't need to keep little scraps of fabric like this, but bigger ones please keep. So here's the vest pattern that has a dart on it that I need to mark. Notice that I cut my notches out. There's another one down here. So what I'm going to do is, leaving the tracing paper on, I'm going to take the pins out around it, and I'm going to put my tracing paper between the two layers. Remember, you always mark on the wrong side, so I'm going to put it in here between the two layers, making sure that I have the whole dart covered. Now, this is double-faced tracing paper, so there's carbon on both sides. Some tracing paper is single-faced. It's white on one side, that's just the paper side, and it's got blue on the other side. If you do that, you have to fold it in half so that you have tracing paper on both sides, and that's not long enough for the dart, so you'll do part of it and then pull it down. Okay, now, I'm working on my cutting mat so I don't hurt my table. And this looks like one straight line, but it's not actually, so you want to angle this dart a little bit. And line it up until you find the angles. And then I'll do the next section. Next section has a little bit of an angle there in the middle that you need to account for. And the next section. Okay, and it looks like my tracing paper has shown, maybe not so much on the bottom half, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. Now, I'm going to take my pattern paper off, but before I do, I'm going to show you one other method to mark. Now, sometimes if you don't want to use tracing wheel and tracing paper, or the marks didn't come through, as I don't think they did on the bottom half, put a pin in the dots that mark along the dart, like so. Down at the bottom there's two. And because this has an angle, I'm also going to put pins right there, because that's where it starts to change. Okay, so that's all the way through, and I push the pins all the way through, and then I turn it over onto the other side. This is called pin marking, and I'm going to put a pin in where each pin came out, and I'm going to push it through. So every place that I have a pin coming out, I'm going to push one through, like so. Okay, now turn it over. And what we need to do is pop the pattern off. It does tear it a little bit, but it won't hurt. Pop those pins. So be very careful because you don't want to lose your markings. One more up top. And even when you take your pattern paper off, you want to keep that, because it's very possible that we need to, and that one isn't exactly where I want it, so I'm going to put it right where I need it better. Okay. Now, very carefully, make sure your pins are all in there. Very carefully, pull your pattern apart. And because I have two darts, one on the right and one on the left, I need to put a pin on the front of the pattern paper and on the back. Pin got caught here. There we go. And my pins will show me where to mark now. So on this side, it looks like my tracing paper has done the job, and I can see that, so I don't need to go over that. But on the other side, maybe it's not quite as dark. So what you can do is take your ruler and connect the dots. You can take a marking pen, but obviously the blue one, the pencil, won't match. You can use a white one. Or one of my favorite ones is this chalk pencil, or soap pencil rather. So we're just connecting the dots from line to line, pin to pin, and then this gives us a guideline to sew on. So I'm just going to do each side of my dart so that it will make it easier for me to see. And sometimes you might want to go over the other one too, just to make it easy to see. Then what we're going to do, I'll take the pins out of this side, is pin this dart and get it ready to sew. Once again, start at the point, go to the bottom and find the bottom two lines, line them up, put the pin through, like so, and then start pinning. This is a pretty narrow dart. You just want to make sure when you put a pin through one side, it matches on the other side. And there we go. So, we have this dart pinned and ready to sew. And next we'll sew our darts.